Capitalism didn't destroy this country. When you mention those four words, too big to fail, they're very clear. It's the merger of state and corporate powers. It's called fascism. That's the definition. And I don't want people to email me and say, no, that's not the definition. It is the definition. They're making it up to be something else. That's what Mussolini called it. And Mussolini knew a thing or two about fascism. It's a corporate takeover. It's fascism. The corporations write the rules. They write the laws. And by the way, I'm not talking as an outsider. I began my career out of graduate school running political campaigns in Westchester County, which was the richest county in the United States. I was very good at it, and they sent me up to Albany, the state capital, and I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate. I went on and designed and instructed American politics and campaign technology at St. John's University, and for several years, I was the chief government affairs specialist for a section of the chemical industry. My specialty was antimicrobials in D.C. One of our chief writers in the Trends Journal is Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, former Assistant Treasury Secretary under Ronald Reagan. So it's not like we don't know what it looks like on the other side. I have a very clear vision of it. It's a complete takeover. And what astounds me the most is how so-called self-respecting adults could cheer, wave their flags and salute their commanders-in-chief, their prime ministers, and their chancellors, their senators, their parliamentarians, and their congressmen, and any other elected officials. It is a disgusting spectacle to me that people follow their two-bit leaders. Whether it was Mussolini, Hitler, or all of the rest go through history right up to the present. To me, it's a freak show. It's a carnival show. The people pay for the tickets to go to the circus and look at the freaks and go to the sideshows.
Let me give some perspective from where I'm currently in Saigon. It's interesting observations as a man who's in his mid-40s, who thought back in high school when they bombed the Beirut barracks and they started up selective service. I figured, okay, I'm going to be in the middle of a Middle East war at some point in time. But now, fast forward a couple years, and here I am in Saigon, making observations of this culture and these people, and looking at it all and saying to myself, what in blazes was America doing here? What was the goal? And I think the only conclusion you can come to, it was an economic goal for some group of people, defense contractors, political people. But I mean, these people don't want to fight. They just want to run their lives, have their kids, and to think and look at some of the bombing we did over here. And look, I'm not trying to be a peacenik or anything, but when you're on the ground and you meet people and you see their kids, and you see kids, that's the thing. You see kids on the ground, and then you say to yourself, we were just strafing the whole country with carpet bombing, and you just shake your head and say, what in blazes were we doing? And now, here we are all these years later, and they've lined up, as you've described, in D.C. to say, let's go do it again in Syria. And I think the fun note that I saw, I didn't see any of the news that you saw, I didn't watch any of the hearings, but I did see that McCain was playing poker on his iPhone.
Yeah, well, yeah, McCain playing, they call him a war hero, by the way. And here's a guy, you talk about carpet bombing. He was no war hero. His plane crashed when it got shot down bombing innocent Vietnamese. Not a hero. Just so you know, I dodged the draft. I was perfect draft age. And it wasn't that I was intelligent enough to be opposed to the war. I couldn't just imagine me, a lot of weight on my back, getting shot at in a foreign country. But I went to Vietnam in 1995. When it first opened up to the West. And I remember when Highway 1 didn't go from Hue to Hanoi. And I remember when in 1995 that there was no mechanized equipment in the farms. All it was the buffalo, what do you call them?
I know what you mean, yeah.
And people with implements, hand tools. And there was hardly any car. I remember when there was still rickshaws in Saigon, when they were just banned, or Ho Chi Minh City, I should say, when they were just banning them. and very few places had motorcycles. So I remember, being among the first Americans in there, and I spent 3 weeks there, going from the Mekong Delta up to Hanoi. The people didn't hate the Americans. And one of the guys said to me, look, he said, before the Americans, there were the French. Before the French, there were the Chinese. And it's the way of war. You asked me the question about when things could change. When will we have a level of morality? People walking around with this ego on their heads and chips on their shoulder. Today I was just reading another story yet about the remains of King Richard III. They dug the cat up. He's under a parking lot. It tells you what dust we are, and how we have these ego trips that are destroying so much of ourselves and others. But an interesting footnote that no one's talking about with the king is dead. The footnote is that he died in a battle, and they were fighting the War of Roses. What a beautiful name. When he died, the war ended. He was, by the way, the last English king that fought in a war. Let these so-called boys out there, these tough big mouths, we're going to take out Assad, we're going to take out Hussein, you want to go take them out, take them out. Go do the fighting. Lead the charge. If you don't lead the charge, shut your mouth. Anybody that wants to go to war, pick up your gear and go fight. Send your wife, send your kids, send your money. You said you're not a peacenik. I am. I'm not a pacifist. Anybody tries to attack me, I'll take them out as quick as I can. And I mean that. I'm a second-degree black belt in close combat. I don't bother anybody. But if somebody's going to bother me, be prepared to die. But I don't go looking for a fight. And if I do go looking for a fight, I deserve to get what I brought onto myself. Anybody that wants to fight, go fight. Keep me out of your psycho trip. And the United States and their coalition of the willing, you got a bunch of guys and women on a psycho trip. I heard Barbara Boxer. I heard another one. Who was it over there? Another woman senator from New Hampshire. You should have heard the war talk spewing out of their mouths. I'm tired of hearing, if only the women were in charge, there'd be no war. These women had warhawk mouths as big as the rest of the little boys in the crowd. There was not one guy, not one woman there calling for peace or saying, hey, no foreign entanglements. That's what our country was founded on. You're doing what you're doing. I'm doing what I'm doing. When enough people start doing, it's very simple. It's as old as the scriptures. The golden rule. Do unto others. We better start doing more for others. And you're doing more for others, you're really doing more for yourself. So extend your hand, be kind, have some generosity, more of dignity and respect, more of courage and passion. And then we'll start seeing things differently. Again, it begins with the individual. And if we don't change, the psychopaths in charge are going to change it for us, and we're not going to like it. We create the future, unless you want somebody else to. And I see a much brighter future. Look, the Renaissance followed the Dark Ages. We're in the Dark Age now. We could have a Renaissance.